Cars are becoming a separate place for service consumption. The car of the future will be fully connected with objects and humans. In fact, in order to be autonomous and make the right decisions, cars must be able to exchange a variety of information with the outside world: traffic, weather, vehicle condition, service stations, accidents, etc. eventually, through various sensors. In Pascal Breyer's opinion, this involves a total paradigm shift. Cars are becoming a separate place for service consumption, he says. Just imagine, a several-hour trip will become an opportunity to answer your emails, watch the latest film released in cinemas, or Skype a friend on the other side of the planet. A new method of manufacture. The last major change concerns the industry itself. Tomorrow's factories will be nothing like they are today. All the car's hardware and software architecture is in the process of being redesigned. On one hand, the body is slowly changing to incorporate new technologies, such as lightweight composite and 3D printing materials. And on the other hand, this means completely overhauling the car's electronic architecture. Pascal Breyer thinks, we are moving from a wired car to a completely separate network architecture that is in the shape of a vehicle. To conclude, the car of the future, built according to a new model, will be electric, autonomous and connected. It will bring a number of benefits to society: less pollution, more safety, more free time and services. And at the end of it all, a paradigm revolution. Cars will perhaps offer less pleasure driving on the open road, but will offer real transport, safety and connectivity services. Many challenges lie ahead, of course, technological, industrial and legislative, but the transition is already well on its way and the phenomenon will accelerate in the coming years. Many players are opting into the adventure: manufacturers, equipment manufacturers, service providers, telecom operators, web giants, etc. It's a real challenge for the automotive industry. Ever drive a Nucleon? No, and neither has anyone else. The Nucleon was a 1958 concept car that used a steam engine powered by uranium fission. Eventually, the idea was that nuclear reactors would be small enough to stow in the trunk. This particular vision, of course, never materialized. In that regard, the Nucleon is just one of many dream cars that failed to hit the road. Sometimes it seems as if that the revolutionary car of the future is one of those things, like small-scale nuclear fusion, that is always a decade away. I think that is still the case. The car of the future is probably still a decade away, but not much more. There is a real chance that the long-awaited reinvention of the car really is just around the corner. I say that because there has already been a revolution of sorts, but one so gradual and so positive that it has been relatively little noticed by the average person shopping for wheels. What I am thinking of specifically is that new cars are not really mechanical anymore, they are microprocessors that move. Today's cars, McKinsey noted last year, have the computing power of 20 personal computers. That is a fundamental change, and one that can, and will, lead to even bigger changes. Consider the windshield. For decades, these were killers, shattering on impact and slicing up occupants. Then came safety glass, which didn't shatter. Or think about anti-lock brakes. These prevent the wheels from locking up, and according to some engineers, have been even more important than seatbelts in terms of saving lives. Both of these innovations were enormously important, but no one really took much notice of them. The new, improved windshields looked pretty much like the ones they replaced. Drivers braked exactly the same way with the anti-lock version. The advances were seamless, and therefore easy to accept. And the same can be said of many of the emerging innovations that could redefine the car. That matters because while people say they want cleaner, safer cars, they have proved markedly reluctant to pay for these benefits, to change their own behavior, or to lower their expectations of performance. What we are beginning to see from next-generation cars is that they are not eat your spinach for the planet vehicles. They are fun, powerful, and cool to look at. So what will the car of the future look and feel like? They will probably be much lighter. Car makers are investing heavily in figuring out how to adapt costly carbon fiber to manufacturing. Future cars will certainly spew fewer particulates and greenhouse gas emissions. Many will be made, and of course sold, in China. Autonomy, the driverless car, is getting a ton of attention, perhaps more than the idea deserves at the moment, considering how few of them are rolling. But there is really no question that cars will do more things in the future than they do now. I am confident about that because they already are. Think of things like cruise control, self-parking, and stability controls. All of which are ways in which humans have ceded control to the machine. After 2050, says the energy consultancy, IHS, almost all new cars will be autonomous. I suspect people will still want to drive for the simple reason that many of us like to drive. But self-driving cars could be a boon for older people whose reactions have slowed and risk losing their licenses. They could also do a lot to reduce congestion and improve safety. Plus, drivers who are not driving can do other stuff. Forecasters at Johnson Controls believe that by 2025, up to 90% of drive time will be automated. So things like game tables will find their way into car interiors. All the major car companies are exploring self-driving cars. Already, some cars will tell you when a tire is low or a brake pad is thinning, and remind you in red letters if you don't do anything about it. Some luxury models come with smartphone apps that enable owners to set up sound and climate controls remotely. In the future, the car itself will be its own ecosystem, interacting with drivers in new ways. For example, there could be systems to detect sleepiness or stress. This will sound a little creepy. Think if Stephen King's sinister car, Christine, could plot with Isaac Asimov's Sally, but cars will also be able to communicate with each other, sending wireless signals to warn when they are getting too close, for example. Cars will also be able to communicate with infrastructure. Embedded sensors can let vehicles know about road or traffic conditions. Augmented reality dashboards will be able to spot and identify objects on the road ahead. Passengers might even be able to zoom in if they are curious. Want to chat on the phone? Sensors might automatically turn off connections if they think the driver needs to pay close attention. Alternative power, this is the big E. In 1900, steam was the most prevalent power source for the car, followed by electricity. The gas-powered internal combustion engine, ICE, was a distant third, with 22% of the market. But it was not long before gas, which delivered much more power pound for pound, thumped the rest. It has been standard ever since. And still accounts for more than 95% of all cars. That is going to change, but not overnight. One oil major has estimated that by 2040, more than half of all new cars will buy hybrids, combining electric and traditional ICE components. That may be conservative. Oil companies obviously have a huge investment in a gas-powered car system. That's it for now guys. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss an update from our side. Thank you.